You are listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast with Maggie Green, episode number 359.
Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast, a podcast that celebrates cookbook readers, buyers, collectors, writers, and clubs. And now your host, cookbook author, culinary dietitian, and cookbook writing coach, Maggie Green.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. How's everybody doing today? Here we are in the middle of July and in the Northern Hemisphere. As you know, it is summer, but our guest on the show today hails from Australia, where it is wintertime. So today I'm excited to share a conversation with Daen Leah. Daen is the author of Garlic, Olive Oil, and Everything Mediterranean. She is a home cook and creator of At Daen's Kitchen, where she shares Mediterranean-inspired recipes with more than 6 million followers across TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Daen's debut cookbook is rooted in her Spanish and Italian family traditions and centered around one powerful flavor-building ingredient, garlic confit. In our episode today, Daen and I talk all about how to make garlic confit, how she uses it in everything from meat sauces to focaccia, and why it's the foundation of nearly every recipe in her book. Daen and I also explore her path to recording videos for her social media channels, to being a content creator, a cookbook author, how she published her book in Australia first and then for a U.S. audience, as well as what it means to her to bring her family flavors to this new cookbook and to a modern kitchen. So without further delay, let's dive into this interview with Daen Leah. Hi, Daen. Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast.
Hi, Maggie. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so excited that you're here. Talk all about your beautiful book, Garlic, Olive Oil, and Everything Mediterranean. But before we get started, I'd love for you to tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, great. So my name is Daen, and I am an Australian who lives in Melbourne, Victoria, and I am a full-time cookbook author, content creator, recipe developer. It's a little bit hard to describe what I am in one title, so they're the three things I like to say. And I have been doing this for 6 years now, which actually has really crept up on me. I got a little Facebook reminder the other day saying happy 6-year anniversary on one of my posts, saying, oh, I've started a little side hobby doing Daen's Kitchen. But Daen's Kitchen just grew out of a place of a strong love that I had for food. And I have worked in marketing and social media roles prior to that. So I had an art history degree and I fell into arts marketing, which took me all over the world. It was a very exciting job. I worked in Arnhem Land, which is in like Indigenous community in Australia. I've worked in Cambodia. I've worked in New York. So it took me all over places, but I had all these social media skills and I brought that into Daen's Kitchen, which I think was a huge plus for me because not only did I love the cooking side, I loved photography and filming, and it's taken off from there, and now it's my full-time job, which I'm so happy about because I love what I do. There's definitely some ups and downs, but yeah, that's how I began, and I have a really strong focus on Mediterranean food. My mother is half Spanish and half Italian. And obviously we were surrounded always by great food. She's an amazing cook and I've learned so much from her. Yeah.
That's great. And so 6 years ago, and you've built your social media following, according to the numbers that I had, over 6 million followers on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
Yes, that's correct, which is a huge amount when you think about it.
Yeah, it's great. And I think it just goes to show you that your combination of skills with your food interest and love for food and then the social media and behind the camera is a perfect combination for this particular time where we are in the food space. And did this lead to your contract for your cookbook, or tell us a little bit about how you got there?
It did. So I probably had been doing Daen's Kitchen for maybe around 4 years when I started getting publishers reach out to me. So when I started doing my Instagram and social media with my cooking, video wasn't a huge thing back then. I don't know if anyone remembers, but Instagram used to have something called IGTV, which was a little bit more YouTube long form, but Reels didn't exist, TikTok didn't exist. So I had a strong focus on photography, which didn't get the reach that videos do to this day. And then TikTok started, and I was a really early adapter on that platform. I was one of the first Australian food content creators to jump on that. And I think that's what really changed everything for me is I was just like, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to have a bit of fun with it, and got out the camera and started filming myself making videos, which I look back at the first ones now and they're just so bad. But I saw a quote the other day of someone saying, like, it's great to cringe at your old work because it shows how much you've grown. So it's a good thing. And I was just getting such insane reach. I remember when one of my first videos got 1 million views, I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. It was a video of me making my mum's crispy crumb chicken. And I think I was about 8.5 months pregnant with my first daughter. And I remember giving birth, and that's when everything started blowing up. So here I am as a first-time mum with a little baby, and just like, I don't want to stop making videos. I've got to keep creating them because they're finally getting some traction. But long story short, my videos were getting such huge reach at this point, and that's when I started to get publishers reaching out to me. And funny enough, I had actually reached out to all of these publishers maybe a year or two prior to that, because publishing a cookbook was a dream of mine. I had no idea what I wanted to do with Daen's Kitchen in the early years. I tested out doing a bit of catering. I was doing a bit of contract work for other brands, but I didn't really know what I wanted from it. But the one thing that always stayed consistent for me is wanting a cookbook. So I reached out to these publishers, heard nothing back. They ghosted me. And funny enough, they then started reaching out to me, and my favorite publisher, Plum, who I published my Australian cookbook with, had reached out to me through my website in my email contact form, and I didn't see it for about 3 months because there was a little glitch where I wasn't getting sent the emails from there. And I remember getting it at 11 p.m. going through my website back end. I was like, wait a minute, like, what are all these unread emails? And I was so excited, but I freaked out. I'm like, I've missed the opportunity. They're not going to want to publish me anymore. But I got in touch with them, and we ended up, like, I met with a few publishers because I had a few reaching out during that time, but my heart was always set on Plum, and they just had such a great pitch to me, and they've made such beautiful cookbooks. That's how I got a publishing deal.
Yeah. In the Plum publishing deal, your book was published in Australia for your Australian audience.
Yes, so in Australia, but also Europe, and I think we just held on to American rights.
Okay.
Which isn't, I wouldn't say it's an overly common contract to write up with a publisher here in Australia. Most people who publish a book, and I think as well, something I should mention is that I was one of the first social media people that they published a book with. And now this is such a common thing.
Yeah.
Everyone with a bit of an Instagram following has a cookbook. But back when I did it with Plum, I was one of their first. So they were taking a risk with me. They were very cautious about what they wanted to do. And then we were sort of rewriting the contract because I have such a huge American audience. My manager was guiding me through that, saying we need to hold those rights because you need to have an American publisher to publish an American version of this book. And I had no idea what was going on, so I was taking her guidance. But
and that obviously worked out great, because that's the book that we're actually really talking about today, is the one that was published by Simon Element, that is designed and was created for your American audience.
Yes, entirely designed for my American audience. So we Americanized the book, which I thought was a very funny way of phrasing that. but we had someone come in and Americanize it. And, we were changing things like my roasted red capsicum recipe to my roasted red pepper recipe. And we were changing words from crispy crumb chicken to crispy breaded chicken. So I'm actually very fluent in Americanization now, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of times, this is not uncommon that I hear this question from people about a publishing deal such as this, where they live in one country, maybe want to publish in another country. But it sounds to me like the biggest secret that you had was holding back on the rights for the U.S. contract until you so that you could find a publisher in the U.S. to publish for the U.S.
Yes, exactly. And look, that process did have pros and cons to it. The pros were I got to have this beautiful American book, and it was entirely catered to an American audience with an American publisher who knew how to sell it in America.
Mm-hmm.
And the cons were it was actually a much more lengthier process than I thought it would be. We were hoping to get that American book out within 3 to 6 months of my Australian book being published, but it took 2 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's quite a bit of a different timeline.
Yes, it was a very, very long process.
Yeah. Yeah. And that does kind of stretch the promotion for, one book topic like out over a even more extended period of time than you would probably expect to have done that. What's this? How do your the number of people that follow you on social media, how has that translated into book sales? Because one of the things that I often hear people say is, well, it's kind of hard to quantify. Like if you have, a lot of, followers, how many people are actually interested in buying cookbooks? What's your opinion about that?
I think a lot of people see a huge following, and it can be the creator themselves or the audience, and expect sales success from that. And that isn't entirely the case all the time. Like my audience is a huge selling point for me. It is seen as a positive by brands and publishers, but the key to success is engagement with your audience. And no one is you can have millions of followers, but no one is going to buy something from you if they don't know who you are, if they're not engaged with you. So I think, like, for me, it's hard to know. Like, I haven't sold 6 million books. I would absolutely love if that were the case, but it hasn't been. But I have sold a lot, and I think those people that are buying the books are that percentage of an engaged audience. And they're the ones that, sometimes they can be quiet on my social media, but sometimes they're the ones that are always just DMing me behind the scenes, or leaving a review on my website, or personally emailing me and just saying how much my recipes speak to them and how excited they've been to get the book. So yeah, they're the people that really, really matter to me. And they're the ones that are going to buy something from you.
Yeah. And I think that people being quiet on social media is such an important thing to remember, because sometimes when I'm on social media, even if I'm engaged with somebody and I'm always paying attention, I'm not always like making noise all the time on their site. But I enjoy their content, and it might be something that would lead to a sale from me too. So I think that I'm hoping that you can maybe give a little bit of advice to people who are maybe trying to pick up traction in social media, and how we remember that the people that do engage with us, the ones that, like you said, they're quiet, but that you maybe hear from them in a roundabout way, are really the ones that are so important.
Yeah. I think my best advice is to just start, and to start trialing things, seeing what sticks, seeing what works. The way that I grew in such a quick and huge way is from my garlic confit trend of dropping garlic into little pots and pouring olive oil into it. And I saw that worked. I saw that resonated with people, and I just went with it, and I went hard on it. But for me, like, I can even give myself this advice now, is because I'm trialing new content. I'm mainly doing it on my YouTube platform, but I'm wanting to sort of put myself a bit more out there in my content, move a bit away from ASMR just to keep it exciting and interesting for me as well. And that content doesn't do as well. And because, you know, the algorithm is used to the other content I put out, the viral content. But for me, it's about this engagement, and the algorithm might not be loving it yet. And there will be a time when it does. You just have to stick it through, and you have to try not to compare yourself to others, because that's my biggest flaw, where I'm like, oh, this one only got this many likes and this person got this many, like, and it can become such a reflection of who you are, because when you're in a creative job and it's an expression of who you are, when you're not getting what you want, it makes you feel really crap.
Yeah.
So it's hard to work through the down times. But I read this great thing the other day, and I'm probably going to butcher how she said it, but she was saying that during the flop era is where you learn the most. And if you can get through the flop era, you are on your way to success, because so many people give up in that flop era. So many people are like, this isn't worth it. This is making me feel shit. I don't want to keep doing it anymore. But you've got to keep pushing through, and you will be resonating with people, and the algorithm will pick up on that eventually. So yeah, my best advice is to keep pushing through and try not to compare yourself to others. We are in such a saturated market at the moment, and it is so easy to compare. But it's not always about views. It's about those audience members that are sticking around and engaging with you.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and when you have someone that reaches out and says what a difference your recipes have made, how much I've enjoyed your recipes, what a difference the way you have presented this makes, and you hear from one person, it's just makes you want to keep going. It's like, this is what I do. This is what I do this for. And so the flip side of that, though, is if there is someone that we are paying attention to or following, to know from the viewer's perspective how much that means to creators and authors and people who are doing all kinds of work online, and to reach out to people and connect. And a lot of times we're real people. People love to, just say hello, or, appreciate something that you've done. And I think that's the other thing to remember, is that, you're a real person with young children and a life and a family. And it's easy to sometimes get away from that. So thank you so much for those tips. And I love that you started with the garlic confit, because this ties perfectly to your book. Olive oil, garlic, everything else, and everything Mediterranean. Talk a little bit about those ingredients, and what you did to actually segue from that into everything that you've created.
So garlic and olive oil obviously run through my veins, being Mediterranean and having a mum that's half Spanish and half Italian. My mum is also a very big garlic girl. So she loves garlic just as much as I do. I don't think she did garlic confit ever, but we did have garlic in a lot of our cooking. And obviously, being Mediterranean, she just put olive oil onto everything. I remember my mum was visiting, and this is like my early video Daen's kitchen days, and I was going to make avocado toast and film it. And she's like, I'm like, I'm getting the butter out. And she's like, what are you doing? She's like, we don't fry our bread in butter. We fry it in olive oil. And I was like, oh, that's right. I hadn't lived with my mum in a long time. And I had forgotten how much we did olive oil and everything. And I was like, that's right, Mum. So I did the drizzle of olive oil. And that was another thing that just went crazy viral for me, is me frying my bread in olive oil. So they were the two big things, is olive oil fried bread and then the garlic confit. And yeah, I just went hard on those two things, because back then it was all about me just growing my audience and getting viral content. And that has then segued into me really positioning myself now as someone who is a Mediterranean cook. I do a lot of Italian, a lot of Spanish cooking. Obviously, garlic and olive oil tie in beautifully to that, especially Spanish cooking. We use olive oil like crazy. And that's how that sort of segued into that, and then into the book, which has garlic, olive oil, and everything Mediterranean in its title, and lots of garlic and olive oil recipes in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and you talk about this garlic confit for people that haven't, followed you online, how it can really turn everything from meat sauce to focaccia to fish dishes into a delicious dish,
Oh,
delicious
you
meal.
can use it on everything. So I have so many people reach out to me and be like, you have converted me or made me addicted to garlic confit. They're like, I cannot go without a jar of it in my fridge. I put it into everything. And I think like when people see the amount of garlic I put into a recipe, like the amount of garlic confit, I don't think they realize the flavor of it. I think they're comparing it to raw garlic, but garlic confit is soft, it's buttery, it's sweet, it's got this velvet texture. It just melts away into everything. And it's my little secret ingredient to making everything taste like you're at a 5-star restaurant. I met this chef who worked at one of Melbourne's best pizza restaurants, and he said his job in the kitchen was to just peel all the garlic every day to make garlic confit, because their secret was to rub the pizza bases with garlic confit. And he said no one knew what made our pizzas taste so good, but he's like, that's what it was. It was this spread of garlic confit on the base, and it's just so yummy.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Would you be willing to talk a little bit about the preparation for the confit?
Yeah, it's so easy. The most painstaking part of it is peeling all the garlic, but it does pay off to get your own garlic and peel it as opposed to buying the pre-peeled garlic. That also works nicely as well, and it's a bit of a quicker way to do it. But if you can get your hands on some really beautiful local garlic and peel it yourself, it does taste just that little bit better. And I have a little hack for peeling all of that garlic, so you don't have to worry. You just have to pop it all into a bowl, pour boiling hot water onto it, leave it sit, and then the skin will slide right off. So it's actually quite an easy process. Throw all those garlic cloves into a bowl, cover them in olive oil, and you can really use any fat that you want. You could use avocado oil if you want a neutral tasting oil. People do it in clarified butter or ghee, and you can flavor the oil or the fat that you're using any way that you want, with peppercorns, herbs, lemon zest, salt, or just keep it plain. And then you bake it really low and really slow. That's the key. So I bake mine for about, depending how big I'm making the batch. If I'm doing a big batch, it's probably going in for about 2 hours at 130 degrees, 120 degrees Celsius, which I can't remember what that is in
Yeah, I think
Fahrenheit.
I was looking at the recipe. It's 250.
Yeah, there you go.
The other thing they had to do to Americanize the book, right? Change the centigrade or Celsius to Fahrenheit.
I'm pretty good at knowing my Fahrenheits now, because my biggest audience on my website as well is American. So I Americanize everything first, and then the second one is more Australian and imperial measurements. But yes, I forgot that one.
Yeah, so it's 250.
Yeah, and then you can either use it all up in one go, or you can store the garlic confit in a jar in the fridge. Just make sure you keep it in the fridge and that it always keeps submerged in olive oil. And the perfect thing about it is you can use all that olive oil as well as you would regular olive oil. It just has a beautiful garlic influence to it. So you're getting 2 recipes out of one.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Now, then you broke the book down into 6 different sections: garlic, olive oil, butter, bread, crumbs, and eggs. Where should we start?
Oh, should we start with garlic?
Sure, let's start with garlic. Yeah.
What did you want me to just talk about?
So let's
garlic?
talk a little bit about the garlic chapter. And it's kind of funny because people might think, okay, well, this is a book about garlic, olive oil, and everything Mediterranean. Why is there a whole chapter on garlic?
So these are my garlic heavy recipes. It obviously starts with garlic confit, and that is the base to so many of the recipes in that chapter, and just so many recipes throughout the book. There's things like, there's unexpected ways you would use garlic confit, like a garlic confit ragu bolognese. So when most people make a bolognese, I'm sure they're just mincing up some fresh garlic, but I think I put about 20 cloves of garlic confit in there, and it just like it melts away and evaporates into the sauce and just will make it taste so, so yummy. And then there's other ways that I use garlic as well. It's not always garlic confit, but I've got a beautiful like garlic confit pasta, and a garlic confit chicken pot pie where I put the garlic confit into the pie filling, and a garlic confit butter chicken where I make so much garlic butter with garlic confit, and I use that garlic butter recipe throughout the book as well. And that was the vision of this book, is that I wanted it to sort of, so many of my recipes are building blocks, and you can either serve them on their own, like the I think there's like the crispy breaded chicken, or you can turn that into another recipe like a chicken parma, which is also in the book, or use it into a focaccia sandwich with my homemade focaccia recipe. And then the breadcrumbs that were made for the chicken, the crispy breaded chicken, can be used to be drizzled over a salad, like fry that up with some olive oil, so that everything sort of connects to one another.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us about the cheesy roasted garlic bread, because that one seems to be something that would be very popular, I would imagine, on social media, and probably for people that might use the book.
Yes, that is such a yummy recipe. Whenever, and I think I talk about this in the book, but whenever I make it, I'll always serve it as a side to, like a beautiful pasta sauce. And I sometimes, I don't do it too much anymore because I've got an 18-month-old and a 4-year-old, but I used to hand roll pasta all the time. And no matter what I serve that cheesy garlic bread with, the other dishes just get forgotten about. Everyone just goes crazy for this garlic bread. It is the first thing to get eaten. People cannot stop eating it. It uses my garlic confit butter, and there's a big loaf of ciabatta or sourdough, and I slice it up, and in every slit I put heaps of garlic butter, lots of cheese, and it just melts away. It's all gooey, and then you break open the bread and you get just bursts of cheese and garlic butter. It's very decadent, very rich, but it's so delicious and worth it. And you're right, people go crazy for that one on social media. I've got a few garlic bread recipes, but yeah, people absolutely love this one in the book.
Great. It looks delicious. Of course, I've got the photo here, so I get the visual while we're talking about it. All right, let's talk about the olive oil chapter. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that are in the olive oil chapter that you think are really important, and things that people might not even think about when they think about olive oil.
Oh, I've got to remember what I've got in my olive oil chapter. What are some of your favorites?
So some of the things that I see, first of all, is the way to make a basil olive oil or just a basic infused olive oil. Tell us a little bit about that process, and also how we would store it and use it.
Yeah, so I love making a basil olive oil. It's very easy to make. You just have to blanch your basil leaves and pour the olive oil into it, basically. And you can store that. I stored it in the pantry, although it does go very quickly in my house, but I stored it in my pantry for a few weeks. The flavor will mellow after time a little bit, so I do recommend using it within those first few weeks. But it's beautiful drizzled. It's beautiful as a finishing oil. So I wouldn't cook with it, but I would drizzle it over salads. There's a recipe in the book where I have a peach and burrata and tomato salad that I drizzle the basil olive oil onto, and that's just such a great way to use it. It's got this vibrant green color. It's got this beautiful basil flavor. So yeah, that's really delicious. And I think I've got in there as well like an olive oil mayonnaise.
Yes.
Yes. So that's a funny one as well, because I make mayonnaise all the time. It's so easy to make. I don't think people realize. There's a few things people don't realize that I've come to understand through posting it on social media, is that people don't realize mayonnaise is incredibly easy to make. They don't realize it has a raw egg in it, and they don't realize it's made of 90% oil. And I would love to say I invented mayonnaise, but I didn't. But whenever I post it, people are just mortified at the fact that it has so much oil and a raw egg in it. And they think that's me doing it. They think, oh my gosh, of course, Daen, the olive oil, just putting these amounts of oil in this mayonnaise. But that is how it's made. And I use an olive oil to make mine, obviously. But a lot of people will say when they use olive oil, it can have a bit of a bitter taste. So I always recommend using a light olive oil, or using olive oil with 50% olive oil and then 50% a neutral oil, like an avocado or a grapeseed oil, just to give it more of a balanced flavor.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Looks delicious. Now we have a chapter on butter. Now this was probably the one your mom's like, why are we putting this in the book, right? A butter chapter. But there's obviously a reason that we would include it. So talk a little bit about the butter chapter, and you even have a recipe in here for homemade butter.
Yes, I'm going to get the book out because I'm like, I've got to remember all these beautiful recipes I have in here. I do remember it starting with homemade butter. Again, homemade butter is so easy to make. It's just whipped cream. And I think I was making it the other day, and my partner, who cannot cook to save his life, was like, oh, is that where the saying comes? Like, what's the saying about you turn cream into butter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, don't go too far, because like if you're whipping it for a pie or like dessert, be careful. Otherwise, you're going to turn your cream into butter.
And it's just whipped cream. It's great if you've got a stand mixer. It makes it very easy to do. And then I've got all my beautiful risottos in there, and risotto for my mom and I is just our ultimate comfort food. We make it every time. We just need something to make our souls feel nourished and our bellies feel warm. And my mum loves a plain risotto. But I like to mix it up. So I have a fennel and lemon one in there, which is just really, really yummy and just really, really comforting. I've got a beautiful mushroom pie in there with a homemade puff pastry. So if you all have ever wanted to learn how to make puff pastry, this is a great recipe. It's actually a rough puff pastry. It's not a puff pastry, which is a bit more technical. This is more of a home cook, amateur baker friendly one. And then I fill it with a beautiful mushroom pie filling. Of course, it has garlic confit in there as well. And the pastry has garlic confit in it too. I put garlic confit in everything.
Yes.
But yes, there's some really lovely recipes. There's a white wine butter mussels. I adore seafood. I adore mussels. So I had to put that in there. I fought really hard with my publishers to get some sardine recipes in there, but they said no one likes sardines, so we're not putting them in. And then I've got a beautiful whole roasted snapper with green anchovy butter. And actually one of my most probably one of my most viral, but one of my most popular recipes on my website is my pastina. So I had to put that in the book. And I think for a lot of Americans, actually, I've come to realize they don't know what pastina is. And whenever I make it, they go crazy for it. When I first posted it as well, I have no facts to prove this, but when I first posted it, I think I was one of the very first ones to post a viral pastina video. And I had so many Americans messaging me saying, I think your video is the reason why pastina is selling out in grocery stores. We cannot get our hands on it anymore, because people, like, I think Americans' eyes were opened and they were just like, what is this beautiful dish? And it's just pastina, which means little pasta in Italian. So you can get many varieties of little pasta, but the traditional one is the star one. And you just cook it in chicken broth with some butter and cheese, and it's called Italian penicillin. It's meant to cure a cold. I think it cures many things, like a broken heart or feeling a bit blue. But yeah.
Yes. It's probably tempting in that photo to want to like it and, think, well, I probably should throw something on there to like embellish it, but you can't, because that's exactly what it is. It's broth.
It's just simple. Yeah.
Right.
And I make it at least once, sometimes twice a week, because my daughters love it. And I always sneak an egg or some vegetables into it. It's a great way to sneak some nutrition into your kids.
Yes. That's beautiful chicken soup. Okay. In the bread chapter, you've got to talk a little bit about focaccia, because I think this is one of the recipes in the book that you put a multi-step photography for the recipe. And there's a reason for that.
Yes, because this is probably one of the most technical recipes in the book, and that's saying a lot because it's not even that technical. But I'm a very, very simple home cook, but focaccia is probably taking it up a little notch, but just a little. So I wanted to include all the recipe steps on how to make that. And I write in the book that if I could dedicate one recipe to all the olive oil lovers out there, it would be focaccia, because there's focaccia in the dough, there's focaccia drizzled on the pan, there's there's olive oil in the dough,
Oh, yeah.
there's olive oil drizzled onto the pan, there's olive oil drizzled on top of the focaccia. It's just everywhere. And that is how a good focaccia is made. And again, when I post that online, I get a lot of hate for all the olive oil, but you cannot call a bread focaccia without all of that olive oil. It's what makes it crispy and golden on the outside, crispy on the bottom. It gives us this beautiful flavor find in any other bread. And it is very beginner friendly. The one in the book is a stand mixer version, so it's got a little bit more of a technical process, but I do have one on my website where there's no kneading needed at all. And I think they're both beautiful bread recipes. And yeah, I turn that into many sandwiches in the book, because that's another thing that people love to see from me is my focaccia sandwiches.
Yeah, there's a steak sandwich and a leftover roasted chicken sandwich. And you have 4 different topping ideas for the focaccia: the garlic confit, with some cherry tomato and mozzarella, garlic confit,
Yeah.
olive confit, or plain olives, and then the pesto with a little bit of Parmesan. Really
Yeah.
simple but delicious ways to top the focaccia.
Yes. I could make focaccia toppings forever.
Yes, that's wonderful. All right, so let's dive into the crumbs. There's a recipe in the in the crumbs chapter that is popcorn eggplant. You've got to tell me about that.
Yes, everyone loves this popcorn eggplant recipe. I actually really need to film it and make a video about it, but it is my mum's recipe, and I used to live very far away from my school. It would take over an hour to get from point A to point B, to get from school to home. So my mum would always bring me snacks, or we would go get snacks. So we'd go to KFC. They just brought out popcorn chicken. This is years ago, and I became a little bit addicted to it. And every day after school, I'd be like, Mum, get me popcorn chicken. And she was like, no, I'm going to make something a little bit healthier for you. I'm going to make something a bit more homemade. So she came up with this popcorn eggplant idea, because my mum loves cooking. So I think she loved a challenge. When I was a bit older, actually, my friends would always come over to my house. Like, we had we were all like, a few of us were unemployed at some point in our early 20s, and we'd just hang out at my house. My mum would test recipes on us all day. It was amazing. She'd come around with chocolate, being like, oh, like, do you like chocolate A or chocolate B or chocolate C better? And get our feedback. Yeah, so my mum loved a cooking challenge, and this popcorn eggplant was one of them. And she has this homemade breadcrumb recipe that will rival any breadcrumb recipe you can find pre-made at the store. It's chunky, it's full of herbs, it's got this vibrant green color, and it tastes like a mini crouton in every bite. So she coated the eggplant with that, left the skin on them, has shallow fried them in olive oil, and they're just so, you can eat a whole bowl without even realizing it. They're so good.
Yes, they look very, very delicious. And I think it's a great alternative, obviously, to, like your mom said, making something at home. And what a fun thing to use to have eggplant. I want to ask you a question about something, and you've mentioned it a couple times. You say that sometimes when you show recipes and the quantity of olive oil that's used, that you get hate about people talking about the quantity that you use and how much oil you use. What's going on with oil these days?
I could not tell you. It when it first happened, so when I first shallow fried something in olive oil in a video and I was getting all this hate for it, I remember calling my mum really upset, because I was like, Mom, you told me to shallow fry your recipe. Like, I can't remember what it was, but I think we were making potato rosti. And I'm like, you told me to do it in olive oil, and now I'm getting all this hate. She's like, but that's how we cook. We even deep fry in olive oil. And now that it's been a few years, I'm just so confident with how I cook, and I I don't let the noise get in my way.
Yeah.
Sometimes in my head, I'm like, am I playing it up? Like, am I just using more olive oil to have a bit of a joke here and to kind of fire the olive oil haters up? But then I'll find myself like going to someone's house for dinner, and I'm like, oh, do you have any olive oil I can drizzle on this? And I just love olive oil. And I think the hate comes from there's a real misconception around olive oil and it being fattening. And that really is where it comes from. People just think it's so high in calories. They have not tasted good quality extra virgin olive oil before. So I think they see all that oil and they're expecting it to have like a vegetable oil taste with no flavor. But what they don't realize is if you use good quality extra virgin olive oil, it has such a beautiful flavor, such a beautiful texture that it will transform any dish. And they're the two things that I sort of see happening a lot in my conversations online is the calories and the flavor.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the calories. And I guess I can see that. I think what I think though is you're presenting food that, a lot of it, that's just traditionally the way that it's done. That's the way olive oil was used in this type of cooking. And I just find the fact that people respond in a negative way, they feel like they have to say something negative. I think that's what amazes me. That's all.
Yeah.
You could just move on, right?
Voice, yeah. And then the voices are louder than the positive voices. Whenever I have a video that doesn't go viral, it's such a lovely space. It's like everyone is so positive, so nice. It's probably getting like 30 to 100 comments, but then when it goes viral and you're getting into like the thousands of comments, it is such a nasty little place.
Isn't that something that it takes it to that level from the comment perspective also?
Yeah. And it's taken me a long time to get to a place where I don't let that bother me anymore, but it's been a journey to get here.
Yeah, I think it probably has. That probably has a lot to do too with your, like you said, you become confident in what you're doing. Your conversations with yourself about it don't reflect the negative comments that people are making. So it's a little bit easier to deflect it and not like pay too much attention to it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So the one that we also want to talk about, a recipe that is in the pan-fried steak with aglio e olio sauce, and a little bit about that recipe, because that's a recipe with beef, but the sauce is really where the garlic and the olive oil come into play.
Yeah. So that's my mum's recipe. Again, most of the recipes in here are my mum's. And that's a sauce I grew up eating on absolutely everything. We drizzled it onto steak, chicken, vegetables, dipped bread into it. It's really, really yummy. So my mum, I can't remember if I add anchovies in it in the book. I'm not too sure. Maybe capers for the steak. But traditionally, my mum makes it with olive oil, anchovies, and garlic. And it uses a lot of garlic. Not garlic confit this time, but actually freshly minced garlic. And there's a little bit of a family hack to how we make it. And that is we fry the garlic in olive oil and then we add water to the sauce. And I add about half a cup of water and then I just let that sit in the sauce. And it looks really weird at first. You might be thinking, oh, what is Daen telling me to do? This is not going to work out. But after about 15, 20 minutes, the water will evaporate away and you'll just be left with the olive oil and garlic again. And the water is there to soften the garlic and it makes it really sweet. It doesn't give it that pungent raw garlic flavor. It actually has a very soft, mellow, sweet flavor. So it's a really, really beautiful sauce and we love pouring it onto everything. And yeah, I especially love putting it onto steak, which reminds me I haven't done that in a really long time. I need to do that again. And actually another way we love to serve it is with pasta. And it's sort of my mom's way of making aglio olio, which isn't the traditional way, but it's how she did it. And it's just so yum.
Yeah. And so I think it's neat in this book, the breadth of types of recipes you have, everything from a basil infused olive oil to a steak with a delicious sauce. And then there's bread, there's the popcorn eggplant. I think it's quite a variety of recipes for lots and lots of different things. We haven't even talked about you do explain how to make homemade pasta. Even though you said
Yes.
you're not doing as much of it now, this also has some nice photographs for the process of it if someone is interested in making pasta. So there's a lot of really good, helpful, useful information, delicious recipes, and of course, all based on the garlic, olive oil, and everything Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about cookbooks. As I'm wrapping up, I want to know if there's a favorite cookbook or any cookbook that you have used in your kitchen that has had meaning in your life.
My favorite cook, it's so hard to pinpoint my favorite cookbook, but my favorite cookbook author is Diana Henry. And the reason I say that, because there's so many cookbooks I turn to all the time, but the reason I always go back to Diana Henry is she is really the reason why I fell into this career. I was doing my arts marketing thing. I'd just moved to a new city in Australia where I had no friends, no family. And it was on the back end of me just leaving Cambodia, where I lived for almost 2 years and worked in an art gallery there. So I wanted to continue my adventure. And Cambodia was a huge expat country, so I made friends immediately. But I thought the same would happen in Hobart, but it didn't. And I was just painfully lonely. And I'd never felt that type of loneliness before. And for someone who really needs their people around them, I was very unhappy and just so lonely. And my roommate had, I think, 3 or 4 cookbooks, and one of them was Diana Henry's. I think it's called From the Oven to the Table, and then the other one, How to Eat a Peach. And I just sat down with them one day and was reading through them, because prior to this, I didn't really do any cooking. My mom and brother and Nana were the cooks in our family. It wasn't me. I just loved eating the food.
Yeah.
And I sat down with her book, and there was something in it that just spoke to me. And I remember there being a recipe about mussels, and she spoke about the mussels hitting the stainless steel sink and it making this clattering sound, and throwing them into the pot, and the jiggle around sound they were making, telling us that they were opening up and giving their world to us. It was poetic and beautiful, and I just loved it. And it's funny that I went into this ASMR cooking because it was how she spoke about all the sounds of cooking, and how it's not just about the taste or the smell, it's also about the sound. And I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. Anyway, I challenged myself to cook all the recipes in her book and other cookbooks that were there. And that was what got me through that really hard time. My roommates would open the door and come home to the most elaborate meals, and I wasn't even that friendly with them. And I'd be like, here, I have all this food, just spending all my money on it because I have nothing else to do. So yeah, she's one of they're my favorite cookbooks. But at the moment, my favorite cookbook is Matheson's soup, salad, sandwiches. I turned to it. I just noticed the other day, actually, I was like, oh, I'm opening up this book a lot. And I was like, why am I so drawn to this book? And then I'm like, because I love soups, because I love salads, and because I love sandwiches. It's just, it's a really fun book. And I haven't made any of these soups yet, but I've been making a few sandwiches. I've got a lot of soups on my to-do list of what I want to make. But yeah, it's a really fun book. I get a lot of joy out of that one.
Yeah, that's great. Very good. Well, I'll link to those in the show notes. And you are the second person I've interviewed today that mentioned Diana Henry.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes. So it's kind of fascinating. It was the same author on the same day. Sometimes I'll go for weeks on end and people don't. That's what is so personal about cookbooks, though, and especially the ones that touch us at a particular time in our life or a particular point in our cooking journey. We remember certain books for certain reasons. And it's just interesting that her book, and it was How to Eat a Peach specifically for that touched the the heart of the other person too. So she does
It's such
amazing work, and her books are all worth looking into, checking out from the
Yeah.
library, finding a copy if you can find one. I know Amazon sells books, but they also sell used cookbooks. You can sometimes find them, or it gives you also. I always say if you like to shop at used bookstores, keep a little list of books that you're interested in because you never know what treasures you're going to find in the used cookbook section.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so fun. Yep. All right. Well, very good. And tell us again how we can connect with you online. Whatever social media channel you are on, how people can find you and start to pay attention to the beautiful work that you're doing.
I am on all of them. So I'm Daen's Kitchen on all of them, Daen. And my favorite platform, don't tell the other ones, is YouTube. So come follow me there.
And like you said, you're getting to try some new things there.
I am, yeah. I'm trying different content there, which, the algorithm doesn't love it as much, but I'm enjoying doing it. And that's important because I had to keep things interesting for me as well. As much as I love garlic confit, I need to mix it up a little bit.
Yes.
I need to keep things exciting for me in the kitchen. So, yeah, as it does suck sometimes that my content doesn't go as viral if I don't do garlic confit. But I have hope, and as I said, you've got to go through the ebbs and flows. And when you're running your own business, and especially when you're running your own creative business where you are the business, the highs are high and the lows are low.
Yes. So recently, when you've been trying to do less garlic confit, what's resonating?
I think me is resonating. So showing me more in the videos, I'm getting a lot of comments around how people are enjoying seeing my face a bit more and me cooking in the kitchen and hearing my voice. So that's really, really nice to hear, because I really didn't show myself a lot because I didn't have confidence in how I looked, or I didn't want to open myself up to criticism, because I did show myself every now and then, especially when I was pregnant, and I just got so much negative commentary around my body and my looks, and I just didn't want to open myself up to that. But I am confident about who I am these days, and if someone wants to say something negative, they can do that because it doesn't affect me anymore. So I'm really enjoying putting myself out there a bit more, and yeah, I think that's what people are loving seeing. Like, it's still the same old food that you love. It's all olive oil heavy, Mediterranean. There's garlic confit in there, of course. I'll never, ever stop making garlic confit. But yeah, it's just something a little bit different.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And like you advised everyone, give it a start. You have to push through. And part of the pushing through is pushing through what you just described and not letting that define who you are and what you want to do. And remembering that comments sometimes from people are they're just that, and it's not the whole story. And I admire you for being able to push through that. And here you are now, beautiful social media following, lovely cookbooks, 2 lovely girls. And not only that, but I like the way that you've threaded stories and recipes from your mom and your grandma into what you do, because a lot of people are like, how can I really do that? But you've done it beautifully, and it's an homage to them and everything that they have taught you over the years. And it's great to have the book, to share it with everybody here on the podcast, and I can't wait to dive into some of the recipes myself.
Thanks, Maggie. That's so lovely.
Yes. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the promotion of your book here in the U.S. We'll certainly do our part. And until the next time, have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. Again, all the links can be found in the show notes at www.cookbooklove.co. And if you are interested in writing a cookbook of your own, please check out the free cookbook writing masterclass called How to Get Paid to Write a Cookbook. It is designed specifically for food or nutrition experts, and you can check that out at www.cookbookwritersacademy.com/free. So that's it for today's episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. This is your host, Maggie Green. And until next time, have a great day and keep loving your cookbooks.
Thanks for listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast. You can find out more information at www.cookbooklove.co.